Hello and welcome to the Green Island Podcast. I'm Bernard Sheehan, joined as always by my brother and co-author James Sheehan. We wrote a Hard Border novel about some of the things going on in Ireland during the time of Brexit. Obviously, we want to continue talking about what's going on there right now and really around the world as 2024 continues to be more and more crazy. So, James, thanks for joining.
Oh, pleasure to be here as always. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's still crazy over there. Ireland is having protests. There were marches in Limerick today. There were fire bombs up in Derry, but of course that's nothing compared to the UK where they're really kind of going sideways. It's the talk about I called the Gardaí the Stasi. But you're really seeing it in the UK now that you've got a liberal government in place, and they are just they're escalating day in and day out. It's a two-tier justice system where you're seeing folks who are protesting, and it's quickly becoming something where these folks. The police there are hammering down on them, but if it's on the other side, pro-immigration or what have you, they're allowing protests of 15,000 people, no problem. So it's really just the way everything is being policed over there continues to make things crazy, and it is continuing to escalate. So we want to chat about that.
It really is. They've gone really communist with this whole kind of censorship. I mean, again, I don't understand if you guys are on the side of right, why do you need to censor everybody?
Right.
And when you have kind of these politicians and police commissioners coming out, and it's like, even foreigners who post stuff about their riots can be arrested. I think it was aimed towards Elon Musk, and it's just like an extradite. It's just like, do you not have any concept of how law works? An extradition, I mean, it's just scare tactics. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, the UK's gone absolutely crazy where I think we played it kind of maybe a couple months ago with kissing Constantine, that Chris and Constantine, that
Yeah, he's
kind
good.
of he is good, and he was talking about how many people kind of were arrested in UK over the last couple years, and it's been like thousands of journalists and everybody about hate speech, and it's just like, or not even hate speech, just the Stasi closing in on them. It's pretty crazy, but I mean the fact that they think they can extradite people from outside England and superimpose their English laws on other people in other countries for posting stuff about their what's going on there is quite a reach. It's quite crazy that they'd actually, I don't know, the commissioner, the police commissioner came out and was like, we'll start extraditing people to kind of come to our courts. It's just like,
Yep.
what world? I mean, what, have you been taught any law? Do you have any access to any kind of lawyer next to you that says, hey, you can't do that? The laws are superseded on the people that are residents of that country. You can't supersede your laws on other people of other countries. It's just absolutely. And this guy's an old guy who's been around the block. It's just, you can just see they're all being just brainwashed and warped. And what are you trying to cover up? You know?
Well, I think that guy, or somebody like him is just like they've been waiting forever to be unleashed and be able to do this. And now he feels it's his time. He's got the ability to go for it. And, what are they going to do? Kind of set up Chinese style police offices in various countries because that's what China does. And if you're a China, and I think they focus just on Chinese people, that
They're policing their own
they're
Chinese. And
policing
that's
their
why I don't
own.
understand. I'm sorry to cut across you.
No, but that's
But yeah,
it. And this guy's just like, oh, we're gonna take Americans and bring them over, and it's just insane. First of all, the law is insane. Like, as you mentioned, Constantine has been talking about this, and it was one of the first clips we had in like maybe our first or second our first or second podcast, and it was a clip from like 2019, I think, where he was saying like, there's similar laws in Russia where they picked up like 300 people in 2019, and the previous year England had picked up 3,000 and put them in jail. And it went on from there. So it was just kind of like this was pre-COVID. This was, certainly pre kind of this this latest issue. So how many people are they putting in jail? Because from what I can see, they're taking people and not only putting them in jail, but they're kind of like throwing away the key. I mean, they're putting people away for years for stuff that they're posting online. It's insane, just the thought of it in what's supposed to be a democracy or a Western republic, or you know what I mean. Versus, I know Britain's not a republic, but my point is that shouldn't be happening in a country where there's either free speech or you've got freedoms and within the country and within the Constitution, or they have constitutions. So just the idea that that's what's going on in England now is it's insane, but it has been building up. But I feel like these guys now are so emboldened with that huge win that the Libs got, in England. So now it's going to be like this new PM is just bringing down the hammer because he's got such a big majority. That's that's what happens when you give the left power. I think that's what's going to happen in the states if Kamala wins.
Was thinking the exact same thing, because England is the closest thing to America as there is, and it'll
Yeah.
happen virtually anywhere if they can get away with it. And I think, it's kind of almost like the January 6th rioters where Grandma walked in escorted by the police into the Capitol building. And now she's spending time in jail for 2 or 3 years. And I had a good explanation from some podcaster I was listening to who said, you know what? They don't care because they need to set kind of an example. They're
Hmm.
very scared. They're very scared of these riots. They're very scared of kind of, because they're like, there's not many people at the top that are calling all the shots. And once the masses or mobs start getting mobilized, what they may not stop. So they have to kind of set examples. It's like, okay, we're going to start arresting all you, even though you guys really didn't break a law. We're just going to throw away the key too. It's kind of it's it's scare tactics. That's what they do: intimidate, scare, but yet it's the government this time. They're not out there to protect you; they're out there to scare you, so that the elites at the top can keep on doing what they're doing, which is mass immigration into all these countries, so that it dilutes everybody's votes and stuff like that, so they
Yeah.
can continue to run the world. As they see fit, and the rest of us are just their slaves. You know,
Yeah, and from a
it's crazy.
U.S. perspective, this is why we have the Second Amendment. That you're not going to be able to really do this willy nilly. There's always going to be some level of risk because everybody's armed to the teeth, and that's not going to fly here in the U.S. where you're just going to be able to take people off the street and throw them in jail. But this is what's
Percent
going
burn,
on
but
over
this is
there.
where they brainwashed everybody in England, Ireland, the rest of the Western world that says, "Oh, guns are so bad," blah blah blah. It's like, well, what happens when the government takes over and we're all slaves? That would never happen. You're just making that up to keep guns on this, blah blah blah. They don't want to look at any statistics in America. It's just, it's like, well, all the crimes and all the deaths from guns are mainly for illegal guns that people are buying, gangs and stuff like that. They don't want to hear it. They're
Right.
so brainwashed that guns are so bad. And it's like, well, who's going to be there when the cops don't show up? Oh, the cops are always going to show up. And it's just like you're living in cuckoo land.
Right.
Start reading the writings on the wall, but no one does it. And it's pretty crazy. And England's just, I don't think they're allowed to have guns. And
No.
it just gets bad and bad and bad. But I think they're rising up. But as you can see, the protests in England are the same type of characters that are protesting in Ireland,
Right.
the hardcore kind of workers and kind of low class, middle class, low class kind of guys that all these immigrants are either taking their stuff, taking their properties, or kind of, getting them off the property ladder because they're all competing and then stabbing little girls, which, maybe that's miscommunication, but that's kind of what is happening.
Well, that's the thing, you don't have guns, but you still have knives, and everybody's got them in their kitchen. There's nothing to stop people from being stabbed, and that's what's going on over there. They are still being stabbed. So
Percent.
but the people who are on the other end have no way to protect themselves. I mean, this is the thing too. When in the U.S., if you go into somebody's house or you try to go into somebody's church where you don't think that they're gonna be protecting themselves, that's not the case. So you think you're just going to be able to have mass murder, and that's not going to happen in the States all the time. Obviously there's exceptions to that, and they pick those soft targets, and a lot of times they're going after kids, and that's what they did in the UK to really kick off this latest round, with these poor kids getting murdered. And people are sick and tired of it.
100%. Absolutely. Everybody's getting sick and tired of all this crap that's just being thrown on it, but it's just one big kind of conspiracy to move the Western world population into slaves for the elites.
Right.
And they're kind of making all the rules. And as you can see, like there's nothing coming out of anything in America. Everybody gets called up in front of the Senate or Congress to answer questions about how Trump was assassinated, and these government organizations won't give them any information, or about COVID or whatever. It's just like you work for the people, you're owned by the people, and yet the people can't get any of the information of what the hell you guys are doing.
Well, there's no
And it's
consequences. I'm sorry to talk over
that's
you.
right.
There's no consequences there. None of those people are held in contempt or going to jail, or held accountable in any way. Heck, their budgets aren't even cut. They don't do anything to hold them to account and say, okay, we're going to be cutting your budget here. No, you know what? FBI needs a whole brand new building. Let's make sure they get it. What are we doing here? I mean, they're the most untrustworthy agency now in the United States, and they're still being rewarded. So, between them and the Secret Service, you just, you don't, it doesn't matter if you have confidence or you don't, because you keep voting for people, and this is Ireland too. You vote for people to do what you want them to do and to keep their promises, and they do the exact opposite. They don't care. Once they're in, they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do. So people keep voting for something. They keep voting for less immigration or a stop to this illegal activity, and they don't do anything about it after they get in. So this is the thing. This is what leads to people going off and being like, well, the government's not going to do anything about it. I guess I have to. And that's what they're creating.
100%. And it's only going to get worse. I mean, you even have, like, I think it was in Jamie Raskin talking about, like, if Trump is, he's a politician in America, kind of a
Yeah.
scumbag
Yep.
congressman, but he's more or less like, if Trump gets elected, we're going to invoke the 10th Amendment and then start a civil war. And it's just like, okay, well, now why aren't you arrested? He's
Right.
got it's just bad. It's just getting kind of out of control, and the protests are kind of everybody's kind of, well, hopefully people are waking up, but as you kind of have, there's Norm and Norma out there that just don't give a crap. They live in their world and watch sports or entertain, and they don't care about the consequences, and they're going to vote for Kamala Harris because Trump is, oh, their neighbor told them that Trump's a bad guy, or they
Right.
didn't like his tweets, even though they can barely afford to pay their mortgage these days. They
Right.
still are doing this crap. I don't understand how. I know I'm going off topic, but it just shows the liberals like how they still are in office, and then like all how bad everything's got since Joe Biden took over, and yet they're still Kamala Harris is dead even with Trump. I mean, I
Right.
don't understand who is on the other side voting for this unless they're getting the handouts. But it's absolutely, it's either, someone said it's either the elites or it's the dirt poor people that require the handouts. Those are the people that vote for the libs,
Well,
and then there's some, and then the girls in the middle.
yeah, well, it's also like crazy libs themselves, these people who have blue hair and everything else, and they're like, oh, Trump is going to come after me. No offense, Trump was in office for 4 years. He didn't even give a crap about what you did. All he was doing was trying to, improve the country. So, I mean, but that works. I mean, they're told a bunch of lies. Once Trump gets in, he's going to do X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, he's going to really come after me for this and this and, my views. I'm like, sorry, it's the other way around. You guys are all projecting here. I mean, it's Kamala Harris. And quite honestly, this, for, this new vice presidential candidate that she's got, he set up like a snitch line in Minnesota that if you were out and about during COVID, the neighbors, if they saw you leave your house, call this line and have the police come get them. Inform on your neighbors if they're leaving the house and maybe going to church or something.
That resembles exactly what's going on in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
Snitch on everybody, kind of, anybody who's protesting peacefully or whatever, snitch on them, anybody who's writing stuff you don't like. I mean, Mr. Bean was on giving a press conference. Mr. Bean, Roland Atkinson, I think is his
Yeah.
name is.
Yeah.
Mr. Bean. He's pretty awesome, but he was given a kind of a press conference there a day or yesterday or something. He's just like saying about the free speech. He's like, you know what? I mean, my world is based on free speech and freedom of expression. That's how I made my money. And he's like, it's pretty bad when some people are getting arrested. Like a cafe owner was arrested for just having Bible quotes on the TV in his cafe, and like someone else was arrested for some other rubbish thing. It's like they're completely going beyond even this. But I mean, that's welcome to the world. Like they've been deceiving everybody and lying to people forever, and now it's projection. It's just like, no, you can't say anything that's actually the truth. It's just it really is kind of, they are kind of moving where we're all going to be slaves and can't say a word. And if everybody doesn't freaking wake up soon enough, it's only going to get worse and worse. But that same commentator I just mentioned, he's kind of just like, they need to get the guns out of America. It's their last kind of final thing, because he's like, there's so many guns in America and everybody has so much ammo that it's just like they can march on Washington tomorrow and clear out everybody.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
he's
there's
like,
more.
if
There's
everybody
more.
just kind of walking towards Washington with their guns, there's not a army, police station, no one could stop the citizens that have so many guns. He's like, Washington is deathly afraid of all that eventually it's going to hit that.
There's more guns than people. I mean, there's 300 million guns, in the U.S. So, good luck with that. And Kamala, I know we're all over the board here, but this is the thing: is so much of this stuff is Ireland is the petri dish, but then it's going global, and we've seen it, with some levels of what they would call success here and there. But I think it's going to be pretty hard to get the guns from law-abiding citizens in America. But that's what Kamala wants to do. She wants to have a mandatory gun buyback program. Well, that's just another word for confiscation. It's crazy. But that's what they want to do because they know that people can protect themselves. And of course, Biden, old man, he's gone now. I don't even, no one talks about him. They're trying to memory hole him the way they did the Trump assassination attempt. But he was always like, oh yeah, you're going to be able to defeat, F-14s or whatever, kind of plane that they, dropping bombs on people. It's like, read some books, dude. I mean, it wouldn't be going after them. It would be going after the pilots. I mean, this is how this goes, But the thing is, as well, and we talked about Britain kind of being up for grabs here, is that once you activate British people, they're bastards, man. I mean, they're not, if they get to the point of we're not taking this anymore, it's going to get ugly. And I think it's already started because yourself. I mean, they get a couple pints in them. They're ready to fight. I mean, they're worse than Irish folks. And it's going to get bad. And I think that they're at that tipping point now because you've had this going on. You've had stuff and groomer gangs and everything else for so long. And this might be it. This might be the tipping point. This might be civil war for them.
That's we could. And those guys that you're describing are the guys that are like the footballers. They support their team. They'll fight anybody that opposes their team. And they've been fighting their entire lives at every Saturday going to the pub,
Right?
and watching the football match and supporting their team. But by golly, they have no problems fighting the other supporters easily.
Yep.
So they are a lot more kind of amped up than the Irish have no testosterone. They're all little women now, all the men. There might be a few big rugby players, but there's no testosterone in that country at all. I don't know what they've been putting in the water for 30 years, but Ireland, there's the women run the show now, at least in the household.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm kind of tired of it because again, the world is kind of dictated by women that kind of are voting on emotion, but then they don't have to go serve when they start wars. You're voting for Democrats. The Democrats love to start the wars, but yet then the guys go and die. So I am of the opinion, I think it was Vivek Ramaswamy, I heard, or someone was telling me about that. That's just like his suggestion is, okay, women, you get the vote, but now you have to serve, or you can be drafted. And I know that might break up the entire Defense Department, but that's already messed up anyways. There's
Yeah.
a whole bunch of trans in there and stuff. You might as well stockpile it with women and get them a gun and let them see how well they do in a real fight, because they have no problem voting for these scumbags in and then leading all the men off to war, and the women just sit back and laugh and have their wine, and talk about how bad Trump is. Trump never started a war. Trump never had a war on his books. And now Biden took over and there's wars everywhere. And the
Everywhere.
women have no problem. Like, that's the only way Kamala is staying in it, is these women, that just don't care. And it's just like, but you have no skin in the game. And it's pretty bad. I think it was someone who was telling me about the Bible is just like, and I hate to go into it, but it's just like women should not be saying anything. Someone was saying is just like taking the Bible literally, but women are kind of, almost a problem here because they're voting on the motion and they don't really care about the consequences. And even if they don't have any more money because the inflation's gone up, they still don't see the connection between, oh, Joe Biden came in and all the costs are higher. They would more or less like to blame Donald Trump because they watch the media and they've kind of vilified Donald Trump. And I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm more of a fan of his policies that will kind of get us back to where we need to go, because the whole globe is kind of, a lot more expensive now and always going up. And these freaking central banks have no problems just ratcheting up interest rates on everybody and screwing. So yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but they're all connected in a way, shape, or form. So it is interesting. The UK is kind of the first, and I look forward to the UK liberals fighting back, because at the end of the day, they're fighting a losing battle. These guys on the other side, the rioters, they have guns, not like no problem. Even in Australia, they did that confiscation or
Yeah.
mandatory. There's now apparently more guns in Australia than there was before they implemented that. The question is, whose hands are they really in? But my understanding is a lot of farmers just buried their guns because they were never going to give them back to the government.
Right. Right. And or here in the States, if they try to do that, oftentimes folks lose their guns in like a tragic boating accident and then they're gone. So, there's really nothing to confiscate. But,
I
you
think
know,
that's what Glenn Beck was saying. He's like, I just put all my guns and ammo on a big boat, but unfortunately, it just sank.
it just
You know,
sank. I mean, it happens a lot, but you hate to see it, but it happens. And that's just the way it goes. What can you do? But, back to, these folks, and you mentioned central banking. I just want to throw, since we're kind of all over the map, global here, for Canada, they they really instituted a lot of this stuff, but Canadians are such pushovers that they took it. The folks that tried to push back with that protest, the trucker protest, all those people lost banking privileges and stuff. So it's like you can't. How do you operate in in society without being able to open a bank account? So that's uh, that's
100%.
that's a tactic, and then the libs laugh about that. They're like, "Oh yeah, somebody got quote unquote debanked." Well, yeah, yeah, dude, it's real. That's what happens out there, and I know a lot of the. I think Florida has made that illegal, and some other states have as well. But that's a tactic that they'll pull on people. They'll do whatever they want. Do you know what I mean? They'll do whatever they can get away with. And that's the stage they're at
Absolutely.
right now.
And there's no limits right now. There is absolutely no limits. And
Right.
that's why it's kind of, I kind of hate saying it, but the end is near, because they are going full whack now. And it's
Yep.
only a matter of time before Kamala starts into implemented this, and there'll be a civil war everywhere.
Yeah.
Because people are just going to stand. But the real question I have is, it's a civil war, but it's not really civil war. It's the people against the government, because the people that are voting in these socialist government with their tight jeans and sitting on the couch all day or whatever, they're not fighting the other side. It's they want the government to fight with all against these people.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
It's
why. Yeah, that's why you see it with the FBI. They're really and this was also in the UK too. That it's this two-tier justice system. You throw, and obviously Trump. We talk about him, whether people love him or hate him, or they hate him and they're still going to vote for him, or vice versa. It's he Biden did actually way worse things than Trump did, and nobody is even threatening to prosecute him. And with Trump, Trump had documents. He's able to declassify them, do whatever he wants because he was a president, and a former vice president has boxes and boxes in his garage, and they didn't give a crap. So, I mean, it's just this two-tier justice system, and obviously we've lived it, but I think it's coming to a head now. More and more people are finally seeing it.
Finding out because so many whistleblowers are coming out now,
Yep.
especially on the other side, because they're worried that they will be the retaliations coming against them if Trump gets in. And kind of, and everybody's worried about they had no problem when they were in power, but now if power shifts. That's why I'm of the opinion the powers that be, whoever's calling the shots, are not going to let Trump get in.
Well,
They're just not. They're
they
going to do
already
full
tried to
out war
shoot him.
before that happens or something. I'm just 100%.
Well, that's the thing.
And that's already being memory hold, as you said.
Yep, it's just like, oh, that didn't happen. I mean, if you go on, what do you call it, Chat GPT, and ask, like, tell me about Trump's assassination, they'll hem and haw and be like, no, well, we're not really sure if that even happened, type of thing. And, and then he had plane trouble the other night. I'm sure that wasn't an assassination to try to take down his entire plane. That was completely a
Yeah, because
coincidence,
the
but
theory is they're going to try it again. They almost have to,
they have to.
you know?
Yep.
And that's really it. The Chat GPT burn was even worse because they're like, tell me about the Trump assassination. And they're saying, oh, well, we're not up to date. We only have kind of the records up until 2023 or something. But then that you
Of
ask them,
course.
well, how is Kamala Harris's presidency going run? And it gives you all this stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yep.
So it's just selecting, and that's the same with Google. And I think at this point, once Trump gets in, you really have to do that section 272 or whatever and take away all their rights of these Facebooks and stuff and make them publishers,
Yeah.
and they're legally liable because they are just censoring everything. Facebook's at it again,
Yeah. Yeah.
censoring again, censoring everything, censoring the Trump picture. And there's only one freaking guy that calls all the shots there. So
Or
enough is enough. This
or
crap, but
or his wife calls the shots. One of the two,
yeah, who knows?
because
On
he was
that.
the one who said Trump was a badass. After that, so he admitted that the assassination attempt happened. But this is why I don't, for example, I don't give Facebook my business, and it's also on the other side why we're on X, formerly Twitter, because with Elon, if Elon hadn't bought it, all of this stuff would be getting censored right now. You wouldn't hear anything about anything. You know what I mean? Because they have to admit that it happens because it's on Twitter.
Well, that's why it's getting. That's why I think that commissioner tried to go after Elon Musk and says, "We'll extradite you," and he's just like, "Well, how about I do this? How about I just ban your UK government?" I think he did that. He's like, "Sorry,
Oh,
you're not. You guys are not adhering to my policies, UK government, so you're now banned." He banned him, I
nice.
think, a day ago.
Really? Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So, as we're, this is the weekend, and I haven't really been paying attention, but that's good. That's what they need to do. This is, you can't have it both ways, and I think this government, these fascists slash Stasi or whatever, they're going to try to do what they can get away with, and it's only by pushing back is going to stop them. So, obviously you want to be peaceful, but they keep on pushing, and I think they're pushing people over the edge, and have been.
We have to push back now. You
Yep,
you have to push back. And I was always kind of a reservist, but they just keep on coming. If everybody pushes back at the same time, they won't be able to do what they do because they have so much things coming at them.
that's right.
You know? But it's those Norman Normas that get kicked in the face, and then go back to watching football and sports and all this crap in the Olympics, and it's just like, wake up. You have 20% less spending money, your kids can't afford college, and they just don't care. It's like, oh, well, how did the Patriots do today? It's like, you scumbags. It's like, stop talking about sports. And anybody in this day and age who talks about sports a lot, just doesn't care about the rest of I mean, that's my theory. It's like that's their escapism. And
Yeah.
it's just so, it was fine. I thought sports was great when I was growing up because like everybody was getting along. We were all kind of US was making money, but now sports is just a distraction
Yeah.
for people that don't want to pick up arms and fight. And it's just like, you know, every AG in America, at least in the red states, to be suing Joe Biden right now for
Right.
illegal immigrants and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. Conspiracy, like they should be throwing lawsuits at why doesn't George Soros have 1,000 lawsuits against him?
Right.
I don't understand why none of these, and it doesn't mean you need a lawyer because I don't trust lawyers in America. 99% of them are liberal. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. ChatGPT and a few other online AIs that help legals now. You even had that freaking Michael Cohen that was Trump's lawyer that they keep on bringing up in these cases. He
Sure.
literally got caught for using ChatGPT for writing up a submission
That's
for a
funny.
court. Because what happens, ChatGPT gives you hypothetical cases in which, like case law, and I did the same because I was working on it myself, and I actually thought these were real cases. And I was about to put in our submissions because I was doing one thing for another person, and I was like, "Holy cow, these are fake!" Because I went on case law. He didn't even look on case law to see if these were actually fake cases. Do you know what I mean? And he
Incredible.
submitted them as though they were real cases. And that's not a lot of these lawyers. So don't trust lawyers are garbage. They're absolutely rubbish. Don't use a lawyer. Do it yourself because all they do is they take your money and then they lead you down the wrong path because every lawyer, once you have a strong case and you're going up against a machine, that lawyer is contacted, his partners are contacted, his law firm's contacted, and they're saying, you better freaking do what we tell you. And, of course, we'll send you more clients, blah, 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 or otherwise we will absolutely just clobber
That's
you,
right.
the sticking carrot. And they always take the carrot because the lawyers have no morals, anyways. I
Right.
mean, I would hate to be a lawyer because the chances of you going on to heaven if you're a godly person is pretty slim to none because you know how many clients lawyers have thrown under the bus. I'd say it's common practice now.
Yep. Exactly. All right, man. I think with that, we'll wrap it up for this week. I mean, again, there's so much going on. It's hard for us to keep up, but it's as you called early this year, 2024 is going to be the year of voting, and um, it's they can't control everybody, but they're so instead of letting the people vote, they're bringing down the hammer and cheating and all the rest. So,
Isn't
well,
2024 supposed to be like biblical end times? I mean, that's kind of the thing.
yeah,
Everything leads up to the year of 2024. I think it was supposed to be a couple months ago, but things are heating up.
yep, could be. I mean, and we're talking about it, so let's get back together
We're even
here in
talking
another
about
couple
Iran
days.
and Israel.
Oh boy,
I
that
mean, that's a
that
few nukes. That's a few days away from everybody being nuked.
few days away. I mean, I've been waiting for them to do that, do something for the last week. So probably by next week, things will be getting hotter there.
Turkey even said they were going to invade Israel.
Right.
Just like yesterday or 2 days ago. If they don't stop, and it's just a matter of Pakistan giving, say, Iran a nuke and blowing them all to kingdom come.
Yeah.
Not that I want to see that happen. I don't
Nope.
want it, but I mean, you got to stop. I mean, everybody, but who knows? Who
Yep.
knows? I think this is just writing on the wall. So I'm banging down the hatches for
Definitely.
all our listeners out there. Time to wake up and start kind of preparing because
Yep.
shit's gonna hit the fan.
Definitely. All right,
You
man.
know.
Yeah, and
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it. It continues to escalate up, and we'll continue talking about it. So thanks for getting together, and thank you everyone for joining. And please like and subscribe to us on YouTube and on X and all that good stuff. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again. Bye now.
Thanks, Bern.